Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Doctor. It's another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest. If I sound a little bit off, we just had carpet installed, and so I'm in a little bit of a weird casting position. If you guys didn't know, I am getting ready to move. Without further ado, though, let's go ahead and hop in and talk about everything you're going to need to know for the White Flan raid, some basic strategies that I'm thinking about implementing myself, what units are going to excel, and what abilities you're really going to have to watch out for. Now, in terms of stats, he is going to be an aquatic light element unit. I think by now most people have already been preparing for this for a while. He's going to have 20% resistance to darkness, 10% resistance to slashing. He's also going to have 10% weakness to fist, and for some alternative strategies, he only has 5% resistance to magic, and we'll talk about maybe some different builds you could be trying later on down the road. In terms of his max stats, he has 140,000 HP at max, and what I think about that when I look at that, and when you do the math, that means you need to hit him about 15 times with 9,999 damage in order to one turn kill him in the final round. So keep that in mind as we talk about what units are going to be excelling here, and what units are really going to be sort of the go-to be-all end-all units right now. The reward is going to be Platinum Robe, and unlike Alexandrite Ring, I actually think this is going to be more important to +5 than the Alexandrite Ring. And I'm actually thinking it might even be better just to have 2 +4s, because this is going to be the only cloth armor you can see here that has access to 18 defense, which is so powerful. If you could imagine Sid having 18 defense along with 10% increased missile resistance, it's like he's equipping a golden armor almost. It's crazy how powerful this is and how great this is. So I think this is a piece of gear you're going to need no matter what, and you're gonna want to get, and I think you're probably going to be wanting to get 2 +4s of these suckers, because I almost value the 18 defense on a cloth type armor rather than the increased missile resistance 10%. I would rather have 2 of them if possible with 18 defense and 5% missile resistance than 1 +5, just because I know I have units quite frequently that equip cloth quite often, and oftentimes I struggle to find a good defensive option for them, and it really gives sort of units that wouldn't normally have access or capabilities to be brawlers more access to that, or even makes them a little bit more powerful in their role, like Sid. Let's talk about what things are going to be essential in this raid. And of course, first and foremost is going to be Steel Time. And this time I was sure to include every single Steel Time unit so that you guys can't say I forgot a Steel Time unit. Of course, as you get into the higher levels, some of the lower rarity units are going to be less viable, particularly Miche, Mia, Zazan. Vadim can probably get up to about level 120, I would think. And I've heard that there's a couple Mias that can get up to 64 agility. So it's really going to depend on your agility, because a lot of your Steel Time coordination is going to be based on your character's agility. So if you're trying to do a high level raid with a Miche, for example, the Flan is just going to keep moving and attacking way faster than Miche can Steel Time, and it's just going to be problematic. The White Flan does have an AoE sleep attack as well, and so it's important that you have some units with sleep resist, or that you stop him from using that. So there's a couple techniques here that you can do. You can employ a Yerma or a Venera. Venera has 50% resistance to sleep, and Venera is probably going to be your best option. Ideally, what your best option would actually be is going to be to have some sort of Steel Time unit steal time before the enemy uses their abilities. For example, you could have maybe 3 Veneras, and whoever's Venera turn it is that's appropriate could steal time, and then you could steal AP. Yerma, of course, going to be good. Whatever the sleep resist is, though, whoever that sleep resistant unit is, you want to make sure you have higher agility than your companions, because you want to be able to act as the block, right? Keep in mind that raid bosses have a 4 square area movement. So being able to position your character to block the unit to protect any other units that are going to be further backline from getting AoE sleeped is going to be very important. Something that's a little bit less essential, but I know in our last raid was quite powerful, is going to be all of the breaks that we have access to. And of course, Venera has one break, but it can be quite easily misconstrued that she has two, and we'll talk about that. Irma has her limit break, which is going to lower the attack resistance type of the enemy. And Rain, of course, has Undermine. And another unit on here, of course, and people are going to rage, would be like Sid with Crush Armor. But I actually think that Sid is a pretty viable unit on this raid, particularly as we are pushing probably up to about level 100. I think we'll see quite a few Sid rooms. I think that'll be very viable as well. Some helpful espers and cards. Ramu and Tetrasulfid for the aquatic killers. Behemoth for slash, and Iron Giant for slash. Behemoth also has some very nice agility on her. In terms of cards, you're going to want to buff up the attack of your allies. So we're going to focus on Ifrit. We're going to focus on Two-Headed Dragon, which is going to raise the damage cap. Raising the damage cap is actually really good, particularly when you get to the higher levels, because if you consider, let's say you have this card and it's not maxed out. So maxed out, it'll be, maybe 2,000, 2,500. I doubt people are going to have it maxed out. But even if you have just the base card and you raise the damage cap by 1,000 and you break that damage cap twice, it can lower the turns to completion by 2 to 3, enabling you to clear higher tier content. And I know when you look at that max damage cap, you're thinking, well, is it really that worth it? But when you think about the max HP of the Flan at 140,000 HP, and that you're wanting to deal 9,999 damage, 140,000 divided by 9,999 damage is going to be 14.01. So even being able to increase the damage cap no matter what is going to lower your turns of completion. And let's say that you're actually doing chain attacks and then you hit maybe a total of 10 attacks. That's potentially going to lower your turns of completion by potentially a single turn or maybe even 3 turns, which could be the difference between one-shotting and not one-shotting. We're going to see lots of Maragas with the slash attack up. We're going to see lots of Ramzas with a lot of agility up. Agility up so that you can sort of steal time from the Flan, going to be very important. The new card here is going to be giving Light Killer to the party. I don't think people will have this maxed out, but it's going to be a very easy way when you're running teams of 4 people. The Happy New Year card is going to give Aquatic Killer. If there was some combination of cards that I would probably prioritize, it would probably be the Aquatic Killer, Ifrit, slash attack up, and then either agility up or max damage cap. You're really going to want to focus on some combination of these. I did put Secret Orders in just because slashing attack, not everybody's going to have access to the Moraga card. And I actually put in the JP Crystal card for the AP up acquired. Since Venera doesn't have can't talk today. Since Venera doesn't have very many sources of AP generation, if she doesn't have Ziza's TMR, it might just be that little bit that's going to push her over the edge to help her hit her limit break. And we'll talk about that as we get into Venera. So now we're going to go ahead and transition and talk about all the different characters people are going to be bringing for raids, and a couple of different combinations that I think are going to be really powerful. First off is going to be Shadowlynx, which I think is the best option for our current raid. And I feel like that might be a little bit weird for a lot of people who are thinking an MR unit is our best option. I think a combination of maybe 3 Shadowlynx and a Venera, or maybe even 4 Shadowlynx. Well, maybe not 4 Shadowlynx, probably 3 Shadowlynx and a Steel Time unit are going to be your best bet. The reason, of course, being Dream Within a Dream, which is going to be a 17 AP, 3-hit strike damaging attack, which is going to make it very easy for her to chain as well. Not only that, if you sub Ninja, you can actually use Decider of Fate, which would be giving a guaranteed critical hit for 1 turn. Not 100% if it would actually land crits on all 3 strikes of Dream Within a Dream, but that could potentially be a good way to increase your damage if you're either beginning a chain or you ran out of AP. Instead of just randomly smacking the boss, you could pop a Decider of Fate. Something to think about there. Other than that, I think she's going to be the most powerful unit in this raid, and you're going to be seeing lots of Shadow Links onlys. And that's just going to be the way it's going to be, guys. Unfortunately, she's just way too well suited for this raid. I think, though, the fact that she's an MR unit is hopefully going to open up the accessibility this time to a lot of the higher tiers being completed by different players other than whales or mega whales. Venera. Venera is going to be a complex character in this upcoming raid, and I think what the meme is going to be is that players are going to come in with Venera and not know how to use her. They're not going to have the proper sub for the appropriate party setup. So let's spend a little bit of time talking about Venera. Let's talk about her abilities, and let's talk about her limit break and different subs. So the first ability on her primary job, which every character should be using, I would think, is going to be Armor Cleaver. Should be maxed out. It's going to lower defense by 30. This is the highest, as far as I know, actual defense lowering ability in the game. When you think about Crush Armor, it's only 20 defense. When you think about Rain's, holy cow, can't remember what it's called right now. Rain's defense breaking technique is only 20. Yerma's limit break is going to minus 38 to resistance, so it's not going to actually be defense. So I think this is going to be a good option to start out the fight with, is just run in and pop that Armor Cleaver. And then you're probably going to transition to stealing time. And you're probably going to be stealing time quite often until you get enough AP potentially to pop a chain finisher with your 3-hit limit break finish. So if you haven't, you are going to want to maximize her limit break. Some other options you have if you aren't subbing Thief, or if you are subbing Thief, you could be popping Mug for some damage. It's a low AP cost option. You could be using, if you're sub Assassin and you're not, let's say you have some other Veneras that are going to be stealing time, you could sub Assassin and you could use C's AP to steal the monster's AP and generate your own AP. You could also use Marauder's Blade for a single strong hit. I don't know if this is going to be the best option. This will probably be your best bet for dealing more damage. However, there's probably going to be a lot of people who think this decreases defense here because of the way it's worded, lasts for more than one turn. This decreases defense is only for her attack, as far as I know. So you're only going to be able to pop this once, and then it'll last either for the single turn or for the single strike itself. So Armor Cleaver is actually going to be a better attack in terms of lowering your opponent's defenses for the long-term duration of the battle. Other than that, I think that's pretty much what I'm going to be expecting to see from Veneras. Also, keeping in mind, you may want to adjust some of your passives depending on if you're going to be focusing on steal time, because you may want to be not only steal timing, but you may also want to be that wall to protect the other players if you need to. Something to think about before, you kind of, like, in case sleep actually gets off. Some things, it's definitely going to be complex for her. I think she's going to be the most difficult character for players to use, and when you have a character who is potentially underleveled, potentially undergeared, maybe not with the max abilities yet, it's going to be kind of a perfect storm for Venera's kind of getting memed on pretty hard in this raid. I have this feeling. Zeta, I think Zeta is one of those units that I feel like there's this elite Zeta meta that some people are a part of and other people aren't a part of. And part of it kind of comes from the fact that they have a 99 Zeta, they have her TMR. So I have a feeling when you see a Zeta group, it's just going to be 4 Zetas, and it's going to be a little bit more of a try-hard focused group, because you have to have better sort of coordination, right? So Zeta, of course, can sub Thief and steal time as well. So kind of figuring out who's actually going to be stealing time, how you're actually going to be chaining with Pummel. You have to trust your allies, and I feel like if if someone has a 99 Zeta, they're probably pretty competent at the game because they probably understand how important Ziza's TMR is. So I would say the Zeta side of this raid is probably going to be a lot of higher end players, and they're probably never going to invite a Steel Time party. You'll probably just see Blunt party only, and it's going to be one of those things where if you have Zeta, she's going to be really niche in this raid, but she's also going to be really good in her niche. So if you have Zeta, this raid is going to be a piece of cake for you. Just run Blunt parties, run 4 Zezas, you'll be fine. Maybe run 3 Zezas and a Venera so that you can defense debuff and tank the sleep attacks, and then have the Venera steal time. We're going to see a lot of combinations like that coming up. Whisper, I actually think, will probably not be seen at the top tiers of gameplay, but with her sub job for Spellblade, she actually gets access to Dark Blade and Dark Blade, which is going to give Light Killer 25%. So particularly when you're in the lower levels of the raid, I think we're going to see Zeta actually be, oh my god, Whisper. Oh my god. I think we're actually going to see Whisper being pretty viable on the lower tier end of the raids. I think she could be viable maybe in the higher tier, but I don't think she's going to be that unit that's going to get you all the way up there in terms of chaining and clearing at 140,000 HP at the end of the day. Gafgarion is going to be everyone's sort of... Everyone has Gafgarion, I feel like, and Gafgarion's going to be pretty easy. He's going to get in there. He's going to do a lot of damage. He's kind of a one-trick pony. He'll probably wash out around level 70 or level 80 of this raid, but if you have him, he's going to be a great asset, and I would definitely employ him. He's going to fulfill the same role as Stern, and Stern is actually one of the units I don't have on here. Stern and Gafgarion are kind of in that same role where they can't multi-hit chain, so they're really just going to focus on dealing large amounts of damage a couple times throughout the fight. So I think likely what we'll see is we'll see Stern and Gafgarion probably wash out around level 80, probably level 80 to 100, I would think. Rain, actually, I wanted to give you guys some different options, and we had talked about the 5% magic resistance on the Flan, which does open the Flan up for some potential fire chaining groups. And while this might not be the end-all be-all, like getting to tier 3 and, you know, doing stuff like that, getting to, like, level 200 or anything like that, or 150, whatever the cap is. You guys, I'm having a moment right now. Rain actually has a couple different viable options. Of course, he has access to Undermine, which is going to lower the opponent's defense by 20 and Spirit by 20. He also has access to his Limit Break almost immediately at the beginning of a fight, which is going to be a 2-hit strike, which decreases fire resistance 38%. So keep that in mind. And then also looking up here, he has access to Soul Prominence, which is going to be 165%, which is very high for a multi-hit, 3-hit attack at 20 AP. So it's quite possible you could go a Rain build and go in with slashing and fire. And yes, it's not an elemental advantage, but I bet you could actually successfully chain and successfully run a lot of these groups with Rain. You'll probably need a Steel Timer, though. Very similar with Yerma. Yerma's going to fulfill that role of Breaker with her Limit Break, decreasing attack resistance 38%. I actually think more than likely Rain is actually better at this than Zeta. Oh my gosh. If y'all ain't laughing now, if you've made it to this point in the video, if you made it to this point in the video, good on you right now, because let me tell you, I cannot say any of their names today. Oh. But yeah, I'm gonna say decrease attack resistance 38%. I think Rain's gonna be easier. I think Zeta, oh my god. Okay, we're done. I give up. You guys all know what I'm gonna say about Yerma. She's viable. You can do a win build. Why not? If you are new to the channel, if you are still listening, please do hit that subscribe button. Of course, drop a comment down in the YouTube section. You're going to see the different people who have made it this far and the people who haven't based off the comments. Make sure you come and check out my stream tonight. I am going to be pulling for Two-Headed Dragon just a little bit, and we're going to be having quite a bit of fun. And hopefully, I'll see some of you guys there. Have a good rest of your day.